Hello, welcome back to Him Reads. We're going to start Felicity Saves the Day. Chapter 1, Kings Creek Plantation. Felicity wanted to whoop for joy. She ran so fast she was almost flying. Down the wide stone steps she ran, down the gently sloping green lawn, and through the garden bright with flowers. She ran all the way to the edge of the bluff and where she stopped. Below her was a river, wide and blue and dazzling, with light as if she were flowing on its way to the sea. Felicity grinned. Every summer of her life she had come to stay at grandfather's plantation on the York River. And every summer, the first thing she did when she arrived was run to the river. Summer did not begin until she seen the river's wide open sweep and heard its welcoming murmur. Hello, river, Felicity thought. Here I am, back again. What adventures do you have in store for me this summer? Grandfather's plantation was called Kings Creek Plantation. It was about halfway between Williamsburg and Yorktown. Corn, wheat, and oats grew in the rolling fields above the riverbank. Cattle, sheep, and horses grazed in the sweet clover pastures. The fields, the slave quarters, and all the outbuildings of the plantations were on either side of the main house. Between the house and the river was a lawn flanked by these dense woods. The lawn was green and broad. It was laced with white shell paths and decorated with flower beds. Felicity turned from the river and saw her sister Nan and her brother William hurrying toward her along one of the paths. Mother and grandfather stood beside a more gracious face. Mother's parasol floated like a butterfly above the colored flowers. Lucy, Nan said as she and William reached her bank. I brought your gathering basket. Grandfather says the first blackberries are ready to pick. Blackberries, said William all out of breath. I'll eat the most. Aye, laughed Felicity, and you shall most likely eat them before they're ever in your basket. Felicity, do you remember where the best blackberry bushes are? Asked Grandfather with a twinkle in his eye. Indeed I do, said Felicity. They're in the thickest at the edge of the woods. Quite right, said Grandfather. Felicity smiled at him. You know, I remember everything about Kings Creek Plantation, Grandfather, she said. I believe you love it as much as I do, said Grandfather proudly. Mother slipped her hand through the crook of Grandfather's elbow. Off with you then, children, she said. Your grandpa and I will be in the way by the shade while you gather blackberries for us. Felicity grinned at Nan and William. Let's race, she said. The three children set off on a run toward the berry bushes. That's my Lissy, laughed Mother to Grandfather. They're not here an hour, and already she's running as wild as your colts. The bushes were thick with berries. In no time at all, Nan and Felicity had filled their baskets. William and Nan was only half full, but he himself was covered with berry juice as dark as ink. After the children washed their hands, they presented their berries to Grandfather and Mother. Thank you, said Grandfather. He popped a berry into his mouth. These blackberries are fit for the king. We shall have something else for you, too, Grandfather, said Felicity. She handed him a package. It was a gift from Father's store. Mr. Merriman had stayed in Williamsburg to run his store with Ben, his apprentice, to help him. Father, let me choose it, said William. He watched impatiently as Grandfather unwrapped the package. It's a bird bottle, William explained. You put it on the side of a building and the birds nest in it and eat any insects that come around. How very fine, said Grandfather. I thank you. Of course, birds build their nests in the spring, not in the summer, Nan said in her sweetly serious voice. There's no sense in putting in the bird bottle now. 'Tis the middle of July. Felicity saw William's disappointed face. Oh, but the birds will surely visit the bird bottle, she said quickly. I think we should put it up right away. Don't you, grandfather? Yes, indeed, said grandfather, and so the three children helped grandfather attach the bird bottle to the house just under the eave of the roof. When they finished, grandfather said, There, for now, perhaps I will have birds as well as children visiting this summer. He put his arm around Felicity's shoulders and smiling down on her. All my visitors make me very happy. That evening, while Nan, William, and Felicity were playing battledore and shuttlecock on the lawn, they saw a bird fluttering around the bird bottle. They stood very quietly. The bird perched on the bottle, tilted his head, and studied them with his bright black eyes. He chirped wildly for a while, as if to proclaim his ownership of the bird bottle. Then he flew away. Why didn't he go inside the bird bottle? Asked William. He's probably too busy. Felicity answered. He doesn't want to be indoors anyway. There's too much to do out of doors. That was certainly how Felicity felt. She loved summers at grandfather's plantation because she could be out of doors almost all day long. It seemed that her life on the plantation was busy and lazy at the same time. There were a great many things to do, all of them pleasant, and there was never any hurry to get anything done. Felicity's days began early and peacefully. Every morning before dawn, Felicity and grandfather met at the stable. Felicity rode his old stallion, Major, and Felicity sat side saddle on a ladylike mare named Jessamine. Together they rode an easy trot bluff above the river. Then there they waited for the sunrise. The early morning was so still, Felicity thought she could almost hear the sun rising. It seemed to whisper as it slid across from behind the hills, warning the gray clouds to dusk, the black hills to green, and the silvery river to blue. The sun filled the day with light and color. Well, now, Felicity, my dear, grandfather would say as they felt the dawn on their faces, let us put this day to good use. And they would gather their reins and turn their horses towards the fields. Some mornings, Felicity and grandfather rode from one end of the plantation to the other, all the way to King's Creek, to the old footpath that led to Yorktown. There was so much to see. Summer was a generous season. Strawberries grew thick clusters along the edges of the fields. Fat watermelons and muskmelons grew in the melon patch. Felicity, plump peaches, nectarines, and figs grew in the orchard, just waiting to be plucked and eaten. Lavender grew in the sunny herb garden. The air was sweet with the smell of sun on flowers and fruit. While the morning was still cool, Felicity and grandfather inspected the field. She listened while grandfather spoke to the field hands of the overseer about the weather. She let go of the reins while Jessamine grazed with the sheep and cows in the grassy meadows. Most of all, Felicity loved to watch the horses running on the huge fence past her. Grandfather loved the horses too. He understood how Felicity felt when she talked about Penny, the horse she had secretly tamed and then helped run away from its cruel owner, Jiggy and I. Whenever I see the horses, I search for Penny, Felicity said. I never stopped hoping I'd see her someday, Penny again. Do you think that's being foolish, grandfather? No, my dear girl, said grandfather. I think that's being faithful. When the morning grew warmer, grandfather and Felicity would head back to the house through the woods. Grandfather would stop to point out names and wild herbs and other plants they had. That's witch hazel, he said one day. It makes a good medicine to put on a bruise. If you gather some sprigs, we'll borrow the cook's mortar and pestle, and I'll show you how to grind witch hazel to extract its juice. Felicity slipped down from her saddle to pick sprigs of witch hazel and put them in her gathering basket. One morning, grandfather told Felicity about the times when she was a young man who had just arrived in Virginia from England. I often went on hunting trips, he said. I lived alone in the woods like these for days. But where did you sleep? Asked Felicity. Where did you eat? Fallen trees gave me shelter. Pine boughs were my bed, answered grandfather. I hunted birds and game. I ate roots and berries. It was a fine, simple life. Sounds adventurous, said Felicity. She imagined living a life cool, dark woods under a tree where she was surrounded by the smell of a rich, damp earth. How wonderful to be so free. The earth is happy to provide us with everything we need, said grandfather as they left their horses at the stable. We must only be wise enough to know how to use it. And that's the end.